Shareholders are the scourge of the video games industry, the scourge of everything practically, because they don't produce anything, they simply take. Hello everybody and welcome to WCCF Tech. Cleaning throat. See, I'm dehydrated, it's too warm here. You Italians don't know what it's like to have hot temperatures.
Yeah, we don't. That most definitely we don't.
No, never, no clue at all. Right, what were we talking about today? A few acquisition stuff, Francesco's pet thing.
Yeah, I can't wait to talk about that. Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy, Unity, and something to do with MMOs. I don't know. That's going to be all Alessio. I don't know. In fact, I've never even heard of TennoCon. What's TennoCon?
Same. I never heard of it, but I don't play MMOs anyway, so it's probably my fault for not knowing.
Have you ever heard of Warframe?
Yeah, I've heard of
that
Warframe.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the convention of Warframe.
But why not call it WarframeCon?
WarCon.
I don't know. Well, Tennos are the name of the playable characters. So
fair enough. So let's start with the quick and easy on the acquisitions. We've had a few confirmations. I'll just run. Yeah. Well, the two I know of anyway. Sony's finally confirmed their acquisition of Bungie. It's all gone through. And
Haven too. Yeah, the studio from J.J. Abrams.
Oh, yeah. Right. Yeah, so nobody important there. Because they haven't made anything. What's Jade? To be fair, it's like nothing against her, but what's she done in a long time?
Well, I mean, she did have to go through the Google hell for a bit.
Well, yeah, I suppose that would sort of like crush everything you've ever done. And then Supermassive Games, which is a company I really like. So, and they've been bought by Nordisk, which is just weird.
Yeah, so Nordisk is kind of a Scandinavian group, and they are buying quite a bit of game studios.
Yeah.
For example, they have acquired Avalanche. They have also acquired Mercury Steam, the developers of the Castlevania trilogy. Yeah, and also most recently the new Metroid game. So they've been acquiring a few studios, not big ones, but still relatively important ones. So it's an interesting acquisition. Actually, they already had a 30% stake, so I'm guessing they just upped the stake, and they now have majority. So
you just don't really hear much from. I mean, they've got some small investment. I suppose Nordisk Games is just they're trying to, I suppose just grow. They've had a few, because it started as a film company. It was like Nordisk Films where, it's like distribution of I think they distributed Sony's stuff. Nordisk Film Interactive, they distributed in the Nordic countries, and then in the films, the ones I remember by them are, if you watched Midsummer, which came out like 3 years ago.
No, I haven't watched it, but I heard of it.
So I suppose they're growing, and then they're just thinking of growing in games, but it's like, their investments, like you said, Avalanche, which they've not really done a lot lately. They got them like 4 years ago.
They are doing a new exclusive game with Microsoft. It's called Contraband.
When it comes out, see how good it is. Yeah. And then, go on. Sorry.
No, I was just thinking that it might made sense because, as you said, they have been acquiring some game studios, but they started as a film company essentially.
Yeah.
So maybe they are acquiring Supermassive because, let's face it, their games are basically movies, playable movies. So it would seem like their IPs are quite well suited to be adapted, for the
Into
big or
shows
small
or
screen.
films. Yeah.
Yeah.
To be fair, I could live with that. I suppose I don't know how that'll work though, because it's the Supermassive. Do Supermassive own the IPs?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I don't know. Until Dawn, most certainly don't. I
No,
think
no.
it's with
Sony
Sony.
definitely own Until
So,
Dawn.
yeah.
I imagine 2K own The Quarry as well.
Yeah, maybe
Uh,
the Dark Pictures anthology, maybe that one.
Yeah, probably just the Dark Pictures. I imagine they probably, yeah, because they're the ones who license those. So yeah, I imagine they've got the Dark Pictures ones. Yeah. Other than that, yeah, like you say, it could be a good move. It's essentially a Dark Pictures series, like like American Horror Story.
Yeah, it would make sense. Yeah, maybe they can ship it to Netflix or some other.
Francesco loves his Netflix stuff.
Yeah, more Netflix adaptations. Yeah.
Well, they can certainly get a lot of bucks though from licensing
Yeah,
certain movies.
yeah, it makes sense financially, but if you like those things and Netflix gets their hands on them, ooh, I'm not
I
sure.
don't mind. Once you've watched the new Resident Evil, you'll probably still feel the same.
Well, we'll see. Yeah, I may change my opinion. Yeah.
As I say, we've
Uh,
still got to figure out how Amazon's going to do Lord of the Rings as well.
I'm not going to watch it. I already seen enough. Sorry.
I've not even watched the
I
trailer.
don't trust them. You know what the problem is? It may even be okay, but it's probably not going to be the case with the Lord of the Rings because it's Lord of the Rings. But the
Yeah.
moment the show goes bad, they're going to close it. They're going to cancel it and leave things like that. They did that with The Man in the High Castle, which is a series I loved until the fourth season, the last one. And you can tell the last one was rushed, was terribly rushed. So I don't trust them.
but I mean, like you said, Lord of the Rings is much, much bigger
Yeah,
than Man on the
this may not be the case, but who knows with them? They
Well,
respect their expectations for that.
Yeah.
I mean,
We,
they're also handling, I think, Fallout and God of War. So I don't think. I think we better hope that they get it right, and they keep.
yeah, of course. It's just that it's not I don't trust them. Really, I don't trust them. But
It's not that I don't trust them, I just don't trust them.
I really don't trust them. It's just that I wait and see, because the trailers really don't get to I really say, okay.
I don't know. I feel like they have made some great series in general. I think on Prime Video there are, of course, some aren't as good, but I think they get a lot of flack.
Yeah,
Maybe more than
after the Wheel of Time, they don't get my trust. They don't really,
Well,
because it started out of, I don't remember, it was 8 episodes, 9 episodes, I don't remember. One was the good episode. Everyone, all the others, why are you doing this?
so
So
we'll see.
yeah,
We'll see.
we'll see.
We can move. Let's just. I suppose the only other thing to talk about after that is, well, on the last acquisition thing, Sony's finally confirmed Bungie, and it's absolutely absurd. Still, I still think it's a waste of money. 3.6 billion? Absolutely absurd.
Yeah,
That's
I
all
don't
I'm
think
saying.
it's a waste of money, but as Michael Pachter said back then, it's just much. They have kind of paid like $4 million per developers,
Yeah.
when you consider the head count, and usually it goes like 1 million tops. So it's super valued, and But at the same time, I do think they are a good fit for each other because, as we've discussed before, Sony is leaning into live services, and Bungie has a lot of experience with that. And on the other hand, Bungie basically wants to leverage Destiny and the next IP that they are building into cross-media franchising. And Sony, of course, is great for that. So I do think they are a good fit, but I also think Sony definitely paid a lot for that.
Yeah, I've said what I think. I just think it's a rip-off.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe I don't know. Maybe all the acquisitions in the industry, especially Microsoft's, maybe they played a factor. They forced Sony to come with a higher offer.
Yeah.
Raising prices, the base prices. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, one of those things. Just to wait and see what they actually get out there.
Actually, I do have an extra tidbit on the acquisitions topic. Apparently, basically, it seems like the FTC is going to have to decide in the next 30 days whether to approve Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard. So if they don't have any further objections, basically in the next 30 days it will go through. So now we have a deadline. And of course, that doesn't mean the acquisition will entirely close, because basically there are also the European Union and the UK's authorities, but generally they kind of fall in line with what the US authorities decide. So if the FTC gives the green light, I think it's mostly done. Really.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Yeah. It could be done sooner than expected.
So it's one of those things. Wait and see. I suppose yeah. Well, we'll move to the content. We'll move to the ranty topics at the end. Actually, that's probably the best to leave them till the end. Go on. We've talked a lot about Final Fantasy before, so go on. Talk to us about Final Fantasy 16. Didn't we mention this before?
Not really. He said something similar, but not really like this. But yeah, it's not entirely new. Yeah. Well, Final Fantasy 16 is not going to be an open world game, and I say thank you, because there are way too many open world games that don't really feel open world. They're just big for the sake of being big. And Naoki Yoshida said that there is a reason for that, because it would have taken like 15 years to develop an open world Final Fantasy 16.
In reality, knowing Square.
Yeah. I think he was talking about someone in particular, like Nomura and the Final Fantasy 7 remake team. Although they're making up for it, because I'm pretty sure the part 3 is not going to take as long as... Well, part 2 is not taking as long as part 1 anyway.
To be fair, though, I think that's sort of the cumulative effect of the fact that they've got all the assets already. The characters are done. They get.
It's Square Enix. They always know how to make things go bad, even if they have everything ready.
No, yeah, true.
And and then he was talking about turn-based combat, which is actually a very hot topic among fans, and I wasn't expecting it. And he said that turn-based, they decided to go with real-time combat because it will appeal better to younger audiences.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that it appeals to older audiences as well, because I really, really don't like turn-based combat anymore, unless it's very fast, like Persona 5, for example.
We had this discussion last time. I don't mind.
Yeah.
It depends. Yeah. I'm just thinking now, you look at the massive gap between like the core Final Fantasy games now. It's like 15 came out ages ago. And
2015, 16.
Yeah. I'm gonna say I reviewed it, and that's so long ago. It's mental. They do need
Yeah.
to. I mean, yeah, we had the Final Fantasy VII remake, but they need to improve. They need to get quicker at this. And
Yeah,
I
well,
don't.
but Final Fantasy 15 went through all that development issues. Final Fantasy Versus 13 getting reconverted into main entry, and it was the time when they were having so many issues with
Yeah.
development. Now they're getting much better now.
I think, though, I mean, he must be referring to, Final Fantasy 15 issues, like you said, because it is the only real open world game they've made in the series,
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
but
yeah,
I think it is far of an exaggeration. Sorry. I mean, you can
yeah.
certainly make a Final Fantasy open world game in 5 years
Yeah,
or
you
six.
can.
You, I never played Final Fantasy 14, so I really don't know how good he is. But from what I've read, he and his team, Yoshida and his team, they put a lot of care in a lot of things. So I can see them wanting to make everything, not making, avoiding procedural generation for the open world. So yeah, I can see that taking way too long if they were doing things in a certain way. But it's just better that it's more linear because it's a tighter experience. When you have a strong narrative, it just makes sense to make something less open because it really doesn't. If it doesn't
Yeah,
serve the narrative, it's better to go linear. To be honest.
Mm.
I mean, like you said, I think it can be good for the game, but at the same time, I'm hoping it won't be as linear or closed corridors
Yeah,
as
well,
other
yeah,
games.
I don't think it's going to be like that because
It still
actually,
needs to be
because
opening.
they kind of improved it. The corridor stuff is Final Fantasy 13 because it was 80% of the game was corridors, but they actually improved that in the sequel. So I think they've learned their lesson. And with Final Fantasy 7 remake, the first part, they could only do it that way because even in the original, it's very linear at that point at the start of the game. So they really couldn't do it any differently.
I
So
mean, because as he said, he was saying that turn-based combat doesn't appeal as much, with the first he said with the realism of graphics, then he said for the younger generations. But it's kind of the same with corridors. I mean, corridors, who want them anymore in an RPG? It's
I
it's
just
yeah.
think
really,
bring back
yeah.
the old style where you just used to have that world map that you had like the big characters walking around. Final Fantasy
Yeah.
7, 8, and whatnot. Bring back
Yeah,
that.
that was a fake open world because you were still closed off
Yeah,
in a lot
bring
of
back that.
places. So yeah, it's the best of both worlds. You feel like it's open, but it's really not
Yeah.
that open. Yeah.
Oh dear.
Yeah. Well. But by the way, I'm happy it's not turn-based. I just want to say that I'm happy that it is that they're not going back. That's better, so that it works better for spin-offs and that kind of stuff. It really doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
maybe
it
a
really
smaller
doesn't
game.
work anymore.
Well.
Although, I mean, Yoshida also said previously that it doesn't exclude that future installments could go back to it, but maybe he meant if they were directed and produced by other people. So maybe it
Yeah,
will.
yeah. Well, if I see some, if they want to do something that's more menu based, I think they would go the route of the Xenoblade Chronicles series, which is a little bit of action, but it feels like an MMO. At least what people say. I never played an MMO. It feels like MMO combat, MMO's combat. That you have all the abilities in a bar and you use them on the fly without having to wait. You have to wait for the cooldown of the abilities, but you do not have to wait for the ATP to charge or that kind of stuff.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, sure.
But pure turn-based like Dragon Quest, it's never coming back. It's going to stay some. Maybe even Dragon Quest is going to move away from that because they made some comments about that. So who knows?
Mhm.
Well, fair enough. It's one of those. I'm going to wait to see. Final Fantasy's changed so much over time, and I mean, you'll never get back to how they used to make it, where you had like 8, 9, and 10 is a yearly sort of release. You can't do that now with the sort of
No.
games, but you wouldn't expect that because, despite the fact that all those games look brilliant, I don't know how they managed that.
No.
It's one of those. Wait and see what comes. Will they move? Yeah, see how this one turns out and see how it's received. It's Final Fantasy. I'll be buying it. I'll be playing it. Review or buy or play. I don't bloody know, but I definitely will be playing it.
Mhm.
Yeah. So wait and see.
I'm hopeful because the two trailers are very good.
I haven't watched them. I tend to avoid trailers now. I just like look. I don't know. I
Yeah.
just sort of, if the trailer's on if the trailer happens to be passing my eye, I'll watch it. But I don't seek out trailers much anymore.
I do this as well, especially if it's a story heavy game.
Yeah,
But
Yeah.
I just wanted to see the combat in action because
fair enough.
there is a Devil May Cry combat designer working on the game. I just wanted to see
Yeah,
how
see if
much
it
of
was
that
that.
was going to make it. Yeah, and a lot of it is making it into Final Fantasy 16 because I
Should be
can tell
interesting
that.
then. Should be
Yeah.
interesting. So, next topic. Go on then, Alessio. Tell us about TenShuCon, or whatever it's called.
Well, TechnoCon is an annual convention. Well, of course, last couple of years there was COVID, so they didn't have it. But this year it's back, and it's been arguably maybe one of the biggest ever. Uh, Basically, they have announced another major expansion for Warframe called the Doviri Paradox. It's another open world map, basically. And they've announced plenty of other stuff for the game, but also 2 new games. That's the big thing because Digital Extreme they haven't made another game in 10 years almost because Warframe came out in 2013. So it's been a long time, and now they've announced a new game. It's called Soulframe. And basically, it's going to be an action MMO, kind of like Warframe, but it's
Yeah.
going to be basically set in a fantasy world rather than sci-fi. And also, they've said it's going to be more inclined towards melee combat rather than shooting as Warframe. So it's basically a bit more like the Souls games in a way, in that it's going to be slower. So the attacks have more weight. You have to dodge stuff like that. It's very early in the game in the development, so it still will be quite some time before it's released. I think they've said that they want to make something playable. I don't know if alpha by next year. So by my reckoning, it will be something like maybe 2025 by the time it's released, or 2020, late 2024 maybe.
Mm.
But the trailer is very interesting, even the art style, and it's certainly maybe more of something of my taste compared to
Yeah.
Warframe. So I'm looking forward to it. And then they've also announced a partnership with the Airship Syndicate, actually, which is interesting. It's the studio that was founded by Joe Madureira, the famous
Yeah.
comic
They
book.
did. What did they do?
Oh,
Was
they
it
They
did quite
did.
a lot.
Dark
Yeah,
Siders?
they
They
did a
did
lot of stuff.
they did Battle Chasers, as their first
Yeah.
game.
Yeah.
Then they did the Darksider Genesis, which
Yeah, that's the
Francesco
one I was thinking of, Dark Side
Yeah.
Genesis.
Yeah, and they did the
Ruin
League of
King,
Legends RPG. Yeah, Ruin King. That's another very good game.
Yeah, actually, they've been making, like you said, each game seemed better than the previous one. And, in this announcement, they've also said we started slow with Battle Chasers, and then we had some multiplayer in Darksider Genesis. And now with Digital Extremes, they are making an online action RPG, fantasy based. So it's going to be, of course, free to play, and that's why they decided to partner with Digital Extremes, because they have experience in the field. And in the trailer we can see a bit of the gameplay. So it seems like it's very much action based, but it's also, as they've said it's going to be a world, the biggest world they've made. So it's going to be something that's a bit like an MMO, in that they want players to live in the game, day by day. So I guess maybe there are some kind of procedural generation techniques to keep players from coming back. There's going to be, I guess, loot, character progression levels, stuff like that, probably. So as you know, that's very much my jam as well. So
Yeah.
the studio is good, and the premise is interesting as well. And they haven't said much more than this, but they have told fans that the unveiling is taking place at Keelys, the Game Award this year, so in December. We should,
The game advertisements.
yeah. So we should
Really
know more
cool.
about it by then. So interesting stuff coming from Digital Extremes. I guess they are kind of branching out a bit from Warframe. The game has been doing very well for them financially, and now they have other projects. One they are publishing it, and another they are making internally, and both of them I think are worth looking forward to.
Could be interesting then. Well, they're MMOs, so they're definitely your jam. They'll all be here like, so what are you playing this time, Alessio? MMO?
Well, I
Oh
mean,
dear.
you have played it,
I know. I know.
MMOs for a
I've
long
played.
time. So.
I have done. I have done. I know. I think it's. I sort of went off them when I started hating the human race. Oh, it's like,
Oh no.
In these games you can also choose to play only with friends. And don't say you don't have any
friends.
Do you
friends,
have friends?
because we will hang up this call.
What are friends?
Friends. Fruins. Oh dear. Yeah. To be fair, what was it like? Because obviously Gamescom's next month, and I got there's another MMO that someone was that they're trying to get me to have a look at. I can't remember which one it is now.
Fractured, maybe that one.
I think it might be that. Yeah, I don't know. To be fair, I'll probably
Yes,
I think yes, Fractured Online. That was it. Yeah. So
yeah, that's made by another studio, but
yeah, it's a different studio. I may have a look at it, sort of thing, see what time. But yeah, so that was TenchuCon. More MMOs.
yeah.
Then we get to the fun topic.
Time to
I'm
pick
just
the
conscious
popcorn.
about time because I do have to eat sometime this decade. Well, no, start with the simple one. It's both about Unity, but let's go with the fact that they've announced a merger with Iron Source, and
Yeah,
that's
which
just
is it's bad by itself, because the company, software company, is known for kind of
Malware.
sleeping malicious software, malware basically, in their toolbars and other software they've made.
Yeah.
So that was already, raising a lot of eyebrows. And then the CEO, who is an old friend of yours, because he was the CEO of Electronic Arts for
The
many
worst
years.
thing is, when he started, I liked him. No, not even kidding. Not even satire. When he started, John Riccitello tried, and you could genuinely tell he tried to expand EA. During his early period, and yeah, the games didn't all take off, and they did ruin one or two games themselves. Like they tried on Dead Space, and yes, they fucked it up by essentially from the get-go trying to make Dead Space this multimedia sort of everything, instead of making it the successful horror game it could have been. Accept some success in trying to go for instead of trying to get everything, and that Dead Space would have probably still been a franchise that's going today. Would have probably been on Dead Space 7, the makers go to Manhattan or whatever it would have been called.
But it may not have been a good thing.
No, I'm just thinking now. Yeah, it
So,
could have ended up being like the Friday the 13th and Halloween films, where
Yeah.
you've got like,
Yeah.
Isaac goes to Barbados.
Yeah, but I mean, let's get to the real meat here, because he basically called a lot of developers, those who don't want to kind of start monetizing their game right in the middle of their design. And he prefaced it by saying they are the most beautiful and pure, brilliant people. And then he goes, they're also some of the biggest fucking idiots. So I'm going to leave it to you, Chris.
It's it the it, if you're looking at a mobile game, then it's always going to be the game design's always built around keeping you inside, keeping you in that silly one of those freemium games where every single thing is designed around milking every single penny it can. And in a pure business sense, they're just rat traps. The fact that this has started happening in AAA games, and we know it's happening. I mean, Ubisoft, Assassin's Creed, their games, they're not designed around being a fun game anymore. They're designed around being the slowest, most grindiest pile of crap it can be, just so you'll spend that extra $15, $20 on the level up quicker pack. So this is the concern. The fact that Riccitello is saying this, and the fact that big studios are already doing this, it's a matter of time before the little studios end up thinking, well, look at the ones that are all about the money, not about the games. Because what he said, these are the people, the most beautiful, whatever. These are the people who care about making good games. Ubisoft don't care about making good games. They care about the bottom line. EA, they don't care about making good games. Weirdly enough, Riccitello, as I was saying, he did care about making good games. Or he cared about making different games, Mirror's Edge, Dead Space, etc. But then the shareholders, it's all about the shareholders, and the best companies are those which don't need to answer to shareholders. That will always be. You always need to survive. A company needs to make money. I will never begrudge any company. They need to make money to pay wages, to make more things. That's fair. Shareholders are the scourge of the video games industry, the scourge of everything practically, because they don't produce anything, they simply take. And they usually make things within the industries, within the world worse by simply taking and expecting and demanding to take more.
Dividends.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, it's dividends or or the increase of share price, which increases their net worth, which also means that if they need to sell some shares, they're worth more to be able to flog. So it annoys me. It annoys me because it shows you exactly where And Unity is such a big tool. It is such a massive tool. So for the head of Unity to be saying this, and considering it's such a powerful engine, people think of the crap that gets made in Unity because there is a lot of crap. Because of how simple it is to develop with and all the free packages, but there are some amazing games made with Unity and some amazing indie developers, and it worries me that these people are going to fall into that trap of believe what Rich Teller says. And
Well, I mean, many, I don't know the exact numbers, but many people, between the Iron Source thing and then this, they basically said outright they're going to move to Unreal.
yeah.
So they are going to lose a few clients at least. So even just in this light, it wasn't a smart move.
No, it's a stupid move. It's a stupid move. You don't slag off your
clients.
you don't slag off your customers, your clients. It's just moronic. It's just
Yeah. Then he tried to kind of backtrack. He tweeted that it was all a clickbait and that it was misunderstanding. That he loves the
That's what he
people that
said.
were. Yeah. But well, of course, it was far too late.
Yeah, I'm sure it was taken out of context. That's usually what happens when you say full sentences. It's fair enough if someone had have just taken like like cut up everything and all the words and just made up developers are idiots, then yeah, that's taken out of context. But what he said was very much in context.
Yeah.
I don't really have it in me to rant. It's more disappointing, and it shows the horrible path that the industry's gone on, and the fact that again, John Riccitello used to be when he started at EA. I thought EA were going to, EA had a good few years where they were like, okay, this is a developer I actually like again. This is a company I actually like again. And I suppose it's not his fault that the shareholders are the ones who turned him into this. Because, he started out all bright-eyed, fuzzy-tailed. Let's make Mirror's Edge, let's make Dead Space. Oh, wait, shareholders are saying we didn't steal enough babies' souls. Now we need to make Dead Space 3.
Actually, I think this was kind of related to one of the changes they are making with the acquisition of Iron Source. So basically, Unity, the engine, is going to have embedded monetization indicators now in the engine. So basically, that's the idea. They are saying to developers, you have to make the game while, from the beginning, taking into account how you're going to monetize it. So if you don't want to monetize it in with microtransactions, so basically you're an idiot. That's what it's saying. To justify this change.
It's disappointing.
Good going. Great idea saying things like that.
Yeah.
Good going.
Yeah, I don't know. It's
yeah.
disappointing, as you said, and I don't know. Maybe they aren't doing so well after. Unreal Engine has been taking a lot of ground lately, I think, but that's certainly not a way to win back the sympathies of developers.
Yeah. I don't. I suppose I didn't have it in me to rant. I'm just more sad. I think it's making me depressed. I might go kill myself.
Don't do that.
Don't do that.
I'll wait until after Gamescom.
He doesn't deserve it.
Oh dear. Right. So. On a less depressing note, and I'm going to be quiet in this because I haven't, again, due to everything, I've really not been. Well, I've been trying to play a bit. I've been playing a bit more Formula One. I'm going to actually get this fucking review done a decade late, it seems, but it's like I think it's going to be well, it is. It's the views are going to be crap, so it'll end up being a freebie for the site, but it gets it done. I need to get back into the swing of things. But what's everybody been playing?
Go on, Francesco.
Oh, in fact, I do need to. In fact, I will say I do need to play something. I've been sent a copy of Roller Durham. I think I've been invited to the beta, and I think I've been invited to the beta of the I just applied privately the beta of the Creative Assembly thing.
Cool.
So we'll see. Probably wasn't meant to say that out loud.
That's online, though. You have to.
Shut up!
You have to play with others.
Shut up!
Yeah.
I'm just going to pretend they're all bots.
Yeah, you can send it over. I'll play it instead. Save your
the pain of playing with others.
So go on, Francesco. What have you been playing apart from with yourself?
So yeah, I've been playing. Well, let's say two things, but one is the type of game that Chris likes. It's a fighting game. Yeah. Well, I've been back. I wanted with the Street Fighter 6 reveal. I wanted to get back into playing fighting games more seriously, but I tried to play Street Fighter 5 again, the netcode, okay, goodbye, never to see again, and I went back to Guilty Gear Strive. Not much to say, because that has great netcode, so I just went back to it. While I'm waiting for Street Fighter 6 to drop, I think that's what I'll keep playing from when I feel the need to beat people up and not go to jail for it. And then the next game I played is Gwent Rogue Mage, that it's another single player Gwent game, but it's very different from Thronebreaker because that one was more of a role-playing game with a bigger focus on narrative story. This one is a roguelike with Gwent mechanics, and to be honest, at the beginning I felt it was a weird combination. I wasn't really too keen on it, but then I played it and it works very, very, very well. It's a very dynamic experience because of the roguelike mechanics, and you have to adapt a lot of times on the fly because of the cards you take, the cards you get, the items, and everything else. So it's a very good game, and it's very good considering it's actually pretty cheap. It's like €10 on PC. I don't know how much it is on mobile, but it's actually a pretty big game. It took me like 35 hours to see everything, to complete the story. But yeah, it's a very good game, and if you like Gwent, even if you like The Witcher, although the story is a little light on story. There isn't much of it, but
man.
If you like The Witcher or if you like Gwent, even the basic Gwent in The Witcher 3, it's a good game, and it's very cheap. For what it offers, it's very, very cheap.
So, would you say this is kind of the first small step towards CDPR's redemption? Or is it too short?
I know that people like to exaggerate about what CDPR did with Cyberpunk. They are right, when it comes that they just released an incomplete game and all those issues, but if you judge a studio from one misstep and you forget everything they've done before, I think it's a little unfair, to be honest. And it's their fault that they set expectations too high with Cyberpunk 2077. But I said it many times. I actually liked that game, and it was exactly what I expected. A first-person Witcher 3 set in the Cyberpunk world. That's what it was.
I don't think it's a case of everybody thinking CDPR are crap now. I think it's people just realising that they are not they've not been sent down from whatever god they pray to.
Yeah, but there are some people that just say burn their studios.
Oh yeah, people like that are just morons.
There are exaggerations that
I think.
But Yeah, I they've had a misstep with that because they were forced to release it on all gen consoles.
I,
Probably that's the main reason
I,
they
I
had it
do
that
think it was
way.
more than just a misstep. I think it was more like jumping off a cliff.
Yeah, well, let's say misstep.
Yeah,
It's that's true. But my perspective is that I played the game on PC. It was buggy, but are people saying the same of Bethesda when they release their stuff and it's a bug fest?
yeah. I think after Fallout 76, yeah.
Yeah, after Fallout 76, but
Yeah.
I remember Fallout 4 had a lot of bugs as well.
Yeah,
But
and I think a
it
lot of
wasn't.
people realised how bad the older games were because of 76. Or
Yeah,
how
they
buggy,
just
not
went
bad,
back,
but buggy.
but at release. Yeah, I
You
Yeah,
mean,
know,
it's the problem is they had this reputation of being a company that cares for their customers. I still think it is, but they made that mistake. But I think
I'd
they
like
mostly
to.
fixed it. Yeah,
I'd
go
like
on.
to break a spear. That's at least the saying we have in Italy. I don't know if it jives well in English, but the sense is that open world games are very complex to make, and then we can get back to what Yoshida was saying. So if you is saying if you need to make a Final Fantasy open world game with the level of polish he wants, it needs like 15 years. So you can understand even just from that open world games, especially if you make them kind of simulated worlds, because that's what Cyberpunk was trying to be. That's what Fallout and the Elder Scrolls games are trying to be. All the NPCs have their own kind of lives. They go back to their homes, all of that stuff. It's complex, and bugs are bound to happen in
And
droves.
there's one more thing that we don't say that often. The Witcher 3 at release was buggy and it had performance issues on consoles. It was on the level of Cyberpunk, but I played The Witcher 3 the first time I played it on base PlayStation 4. The
Yeah,
performance was all over the place. And there was bugs like items flying around, that kind of stuff. Some crashes too, I remember.
yeah, and
Most people played The Witcher 3 after it had been updated multiple times and had become, this cool game that everyone had to play. So they have a different perception of that game, but it had bugs as well. I don't know if I remember right, but The Witcher 2 was like that as well. The first release, not the updated one that then got released on Xbox 360. I think that had a
yeah,
lot of issues as well.
yeah. They did enhanced editions for both games, The Witcher One and The Witcher Two. So
Yeah,
that tells you, as we've been saying, if you want a polished experience these days, it's really hard to get it on day one,
yeah, you
especially
have
as
to
the
wait.
games grow bigger. Because, I mean, if they made the same games they made earlier, then fine. But people will always want more. They want bigger games, longer
Yeah,
games, and that means more bugs, more problems.
yeah.
So it's kind
So
of a
yeah,
catch 22.
yeah.
yeah. Well, to be honest, I expect the next The Witcher will not have these issues. Since they've moved to a real engine, so I think a lot of their problems with their own engine is going to be a thing of the past,
Yeah.
and probably
But The
everyone is going to
Witcher,
forget.
by itself is less complex than Cyberpunk, because, for
Yeah,
Yeah,
true.
example,
yeah, it is. I
with
think,
Cyberpunk, you had the driving simulation stuff, the police that they had to
Yeah,
add, and also you had the third dimension, like you did jumps,
yeah, yeah.
verticality, which
yeah,
is completely absent in The Witcher.
yeah,
So
Near enough as damn it, yeah, agreed.
yeah.
But I think this could be a good topic for another one. Though I'm just thinking we could talk about it all day, and I've got some to
Yeah.
get to eventually. So I'm just thinking, let's quickly move on to what you've been playing, Alessio.
well, like you said, I haven't been playing anything new. So
Fair
if you
enough.
want to hear me talking about playing Elder Scrolls Online, but I don't think that's the
I
case.
think we've
So
had a lot of that, haven't we?
Yeah.
if you want to if you want to talk a bit about this, but as you said, we can definitely do this on a separate episode.
Well, that's it. I'm going to say there's a lot of these topics. Instead of the news, we can cover it in a decent episode. Genuine talking points which would interest people. And I think we should do that. So, yeah, I think. So essentially, only Francesco's been playing video games this time. Well, you've been playing MMOs, but yeah. You social person.
But I am a guild leader, so yeah, I can. I have
Well, look
to.
at you.
I have to. Yeah.
Well, so I did a tweet this morning which has currently sat on a lot of impressions. Oh, Jesus Christ.
Why use Twitter when you hate people? Why?
Because I can tell them how much I hate them.
This is a walking contradiction.
Yeah, well, that's life. That's tweeted an hour ago and it's already on 152,000 impressions. Oh, dear. Essentially just telling people that they're all idiots and it's too hot. Global warming and all that. But anyway, yeah, I think I'll go get some food before I die of starvation. And before it gets too hot. It's gone up 2 degrees since we started talking.
Welcome to Italy.
I'm not in Italy. I'm in Britain. It's meant to be cold.
Welcome to Italy. The Italian summer experience is coming to you.
Yeah, well,
Francesco, I think Britain isn't going to cut it anymore with global warming. I think you have to go to Iceland.
You have to go. Well, Iceland is the goal. Iceland is the goal eventually.
Yeah, I think so. Or the Arctic Circle.
Yeah.
Right. I think that'll do for tonight. Oh no, see, it's too hot. I'm even thinking it's night time somehow. I'll see you all in a bit.
Yeah. Bye.
See you in a bit. Bye.